This is TWiT.
Okay, yes, we're all like super excited to watch the new Star Wars film, The Last Jedi, but that's just 2.5 hours of our life. What about the rest of the time? How could we possibly obsess over the Star Wars universe when we aren't paying $13 a ticket? How about instead picking up this piece of kit to fill the gaps? This is the Star Wars Jedi Challenges bundle that looks a whole heck of a lot like a virtual reality rig. It's actually a highly customized smartphone-fueled gaming system, similar to like a Daydream or a Gear VR viewer, but it has some distinct differences. Namely, this is more about augmented reality, which will have you layering the Star Wars universe over the top of, let's say, the rug in your living room. You'll walk through a somewhat cumbersome guided setup. You actually have to put your compatible smartphone, of which Disney says the last couple of years of smartphones are compatible, both iOS and Android. You actually have that resting inside of the visor. And then these mirrors project the interface and gaming elements into the same field of view as, well, everything else that happens to be in your room. As a result, it feels less like a VR headset and more like something like Microsoft's HoloLens. I found the head strap to be just a little bit uncomfortable. It took a while to dial it in, but I was able to manage. You also get this impressively convincing lightsaber with an illuminated tip that helps with AR tracking while you're playing the game, along with a few control buttons on the side. You will absolutely feel like a Jedi holding this lightsaber. It's very well made. And finally, you get this glowing beacon that you can place on the floor in the center of your space. This is actually how all of that AR content is pinned to the ground where you are and acts as the center for that content. So you can quite literally walk around the room, kind of like a low-rent tracking camera that you might get with the big VR rigs like the Rift or the Vive. Now, once you've maneuvered through all of that setup and everything is working as designed, you have 3 games to get started with. The first, I would say, is probably the most enjoyable. It's the lightsaber battle.
I will initiate you to the dark side,
where you'll challenge a huge host of notable baddies from the Star Wars universe. You'll slice them up, you'll ricochet their shots, you might even block their own attacks in a certain sequence sort of way. It's incredibly satisfying, especially considering the AR lightsaber overlaid on top of that great hardware that's sitting in your hands right there works together pretty solidly, save for a little bit of lag here and there. It's a lot of fun.
This isn't how I thought it would end.
There's also a strategy game that you'll want to place on the ground to manage as if you're in God mode, looking down on all the troops and the AT-ATs and all sorts of other things engaging in an all-out battle. You command the action from above, placing different turrets and offensive swarms around the map to deal with the incoming wave of those enemies. Real-time strategy fans are going to enjoy the holographic approach. And finally, it wouldn't be complete without the holo chess that we've all dreamed about playing from Episode 4, A New Hope. Good thing you aren't playing against an actual Wookiee. They've been known to pull arms out of sockets if they lose. But it is too bad that you can't match up with real human opponents, though Disney has said that it's working on multiplayer capability. I will say that tracking wasn't always perfect. I noticed a little bit of drift at times, but worse than that is a general state of wobbliness with the image, and that got a bit annoying over time. Also, there were moments when the interface got lost altogether, and I had to reset the game to find it again in my space. But the AR effect, when it's working, is pretty convincing, and Disney says it has around 12 hours of solid gameplay. So for $199, which is a little steep, you have a good amount to keep you busy. At least until you decide to buy another ticket for The Last Jedi. I'm Jason Howell, and you can catch me on All About Android and Tech News Weekly here on TWiT.tv.